Good afternoon. I am Eric Spencer. I am the Executive Director of NAMI, Georgia, and I can remember back in, I think it was 2009, when the game plan, as it was called back then, to shut down certain hospitals around the state, with Savannah being the first one. When that rolled out, Region 5 cried out, and we came down. Back then, I think Nora was the president of NAMI, Georgia. I was the executive director. The department came down as well. They even paid for the Franklin Covey facilitator, and I remember meeting with him, doing a little pre-game strategy in this very room all those years ago, and he said, what is it that y'all want to accomplish in this mission? And the group consensus was to reduce recidivism. That was the #1 thing. And out of that meeting, to save the hospital, ODR eventually began to form. I believe the genesis actually came from John Richards right here. He stood up in that first meeting and he said, I've been a case manager for my son for 25 years, and I am tired of walking into a doctor's office and being looked at it as if I was a hysterical parent and don't know what I'm doing. And that started the ball rolling, and it turned into a team of navigators, family navigator, peer navigator, and professional. And NAMI, Georgia has been there the whole time. Sometimes it seems like we're up there in the ivory tower in Atlanta along with the other folks from the department, and we don't care, but we do. We really do, and we have really been struggling behind the scenes to keep this project going. Whenever you do something like this that is this big and this new, there are always bumps in the road. There are always hiccups. And how we handle those speaks to what kind of organization and what kind of community we are. And here we are today. We're still going strong. We're still fighting the good fight, and we're still struggling to get that funding to keep it going. The lady just mentioned a few moments ago that it's not about the dollars and cents, it's really about the people, and that's the truth of the matter. And yet we're forced to talk about dollars and cents sometimes, and I drew the short straw, so here I am talking about the dollars. You have a handout here that says ODR financial situation. Now, it is a snapshot of what was on August 31st. Some of these things have come to pass, but we're just going to talk about the snapshot and understand that, you know, because we could take a snapshot every day, and if I talk to one person on the phone on the 31st and then someone else on the phone on the 13th, it'll be a different picture. And if those two people talk, then all of a sudden they have different stories, and they start huddling together and they say they're lying to us. So we're just going to talk about the snapshot of what is on the 31st. At that moment, there was only $19,000 of ODR money. The Department of Behavioral Health owed us for June and July, and there was a possibility that we had to return the Bristol-Myers Squibb funding. Let me explain to you about that. When the project originally started, Bristol-Myers Squibb came down and said, we're going to fund this. And then Commissioner Schell said, well, 40 people is not a strong enough number. There was going to be 40 people in and 40 people out. We need 100 people if we're going to sell this to the legislature. Everybody agreed with that, including Dr. Compton. So the program got expanded. Well, you can imagine, from 40 to 100, that's 2.5 times. That was beyond the scope of Bristol-Myers Squibb to fund. So Bristol-Myers Squibb said, well, the state needs to match, and the state said, okay. So we had these pools of money. Bristol-Myers Squibb did it in the form of a grant. The Department of Behavioral Health did it in the form of contracts. And the end of the project was supposed to be August 31st, 2012. Theoretically, the project should have been over 3 or 4 weeks ago. However, just like the ACT teams in the state, the ODR teams were having trouble getting all of their participants engaged. So the project had to be extended to April 2013 so that all 100 would actually get at least 12 months of intervention. So we went back to Bristol-Myers Squibb and said, we need to extend the project. They understood. They said, we will, but we must have another match. Doesn't have to be the state, it just has to be somebody. So they were going to contribute $349,000, and then somebody else had to contribute $500,000. The state agreed to give an additional $250,000. So that's where we find ourselves right now. We still do not have that second $250,000 that we need to carry it through. Now we are working very hard to find that money. We have meetings with the governor, the lieutenant governor's office, the new commissioner. All indications are that these things are being received very well. So we are very optimistic. And to put that in perspective, back in May, we thought we were going to have to shut the project down because of funding issues, but we worked through that. We're going to work through this. So that's why in the first column you see that it says that we might have to return the $200,000 to Bristol-Myers Squibb, because if we don't get that extra match, then according to their extension grant, we didn't get the matching funds, we'd have to return the money. And if you work it all the way through, then that says that the project would end October 31st. So worst case scenario, the project can continue to October 31st. However, since this snapshot was taken, a couple of things have happened. The Department of Behavioral Health funds have come in for June and July. Thank you very much, Charles. And I've spoken with Catherine Grimes with the Bristol-Myers Squibb Foundation, and her words were, we will not turn our backs on this project. So I seriously doubt that we will have to give that $200,000 back. So move on over to the next column. And you will see as we work it on down, then we have an additional 2 months of operating expenses after October 31st, so we can go all the way to the end of this calendar year. Now, if things go well with our talks with the department, Frank Berry, he's been very busy, as a new commissioner, you can understand all the things he's had to get up to speed on, and ODR is important, but he's got a lot of other things on his plate, so we've been having to shoehorn opportunities to get in there to talk to him. If they come through with that additional $250,000, or somebody's sugar daddy does, I don't care, I'll take anybody's money at this point, then you can see that that opens everything up and we can go all the way to the end of April. April 30th, 2013. That will complete the research phase. This was originally started as a research project. It still is a research project. But with any research project, when you are studying something, the intent is to prove that it works and then continue to use it. So a little later on, we're going to talk about, well, what do we do after April 30th, 2013? Do we close the books and say, that was great, what's next? Or do we do something about trying to continue it on? That's the discussion we'll have a little bit later. Just some details about this, or explaining some of the things. There in that second group, you see that it says estimated August ongoing expenses. What that comment Pineland invoices 1 month in arrears means is that Pineland invoices after they do the work. The other two CSBs invoice prior to doing the work. That's all that really means. So we always get an invoice for the previous month from Pineland, so I had to throw that in there to bring August up to speed. The additional ACG training, there's some new navigators on board and they need a training, so these are the funds that would go to train them. And since it is very unlikely that we have to return the VMS funds, we're going to look at scheduling that training here in the near future and make that a reality. And then the ongoing expenses, they sort of percolate down and settle out to around $97,000 a month. That's how much it costs to sustain ODR. Are there any questions about the current funding situation?
Does the state not paying you like June? I mean, if you paid the state that way on my state income taxes, they'd be at my house tomorrow morning. But what, doesn't it have a great effect on you meeting obligations with something, that's almost 90 days ago.
We've had to loan ODR a lot of money, yes. Part of the reason is that when we entered into a new contract with the state for the amended fiscal year 12 monies, they wanted a new set of reports, because originally their contract was about the technology. The new contract paid for everything, so they wanted new reports. It took a while for those first to agree on what those new reports were. I think we agreed on those new reports late June. So you can see that really hampered May and June billings. And then it just took until a couple of weeks ago for us to get the July and August, or the June and July payments. But we're now on track, so.
Is that common for them to do it that way?
No. We've had a, what I call our core program contract with the state, which is CIT, Connection Support Recovery Group, Family Recovery or Family Support Group, Family to Family, and Peer to Peer. And we don't have those issues, but that's because we have an established reporting and invoicing procedure that goes years back, so there's no issue. It's just these, again, like I said earlier, when you have a new project and you change things and you're developing things, there are hiccups and bumps along the way, and this was just one of them. We never had any doubt that they would pay. It was just a question of how long could we go before we got that check. Any other questions about the current funding situation? Yes, sir.
Stephen Murphy, Coastal Council. My question is this: what is, at the state level, NAMI doing trying to raise these funds on their own?
Meeting with the Lieutenant Governor's staff, the meeting with the Commissioner.
Outside of going to governmental agencies to ask for money, what are we doing on our own so far as maybe a synchronized event throughout the state by all the offices of NAMI, and raffle off certain items throughout the state and earn money to fund some of this stuff ourselves?
Nothing. We're not doing that. I have been in talks with a managed care outfit, and they were very interested in this since it was a case management scenario, and they have a lot of case management in their healthcare. But other than that, we're not.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?